So, guys, the other day I saw Auntie Donna. She was talking about something on her channel, right? And it stemmed from a gentleman that she said called her, or she saw a gentleman and she was speaking to him, or did he call her? I don't remember. Anyways, the gentleman was basically talking about how he thinks that, Jamaicans are bad mind because, of whatever running he had with some acquaintance or some person of his. I don't remember the full details. Well, anyway, Auntie Donna, then she started talking about it and talking about her experience and with people in general, right? But she generalized, as most of us Jamaicans always do. Mostly, see, I went and generalized there. And she was saying that 80% of Jamaicans are bad mind. Well, obviously, she hasn't met 100% of Jamaicans. So when she said 80% of Jamaicans are bad mind, you know that that is a generalization, and an over exaggeration. Again, us Jamaicans, we all tend to do that. So in my head, I'm like, okay, most of the people that she has encountered are bad men, right? I'm not gonna think that 80% of Jamaicans, because really it isn't true. A lot of Jamaicans are bad men, yes. Now there is another a content creator, I only watched a small portion of a clip that she did. I didn't watch her full video, but the little piece of clip, she wasn't really happy with Auntie Donna's math in saying, that 80% of Jamaicans are bad mind, because she was saying, Auntie Donna has her platform and her, she does basically what she's saying is that Auntie Donna has her platform. She does charity on her platform, and if um 80% of Jamaicans were bad-minded, then people would not be so supportive of Auntie Donna's charitable endeavors, whenever she comes out with them. But there's a difference between people can still be kind and bad mind. But anyway, so Auntie Donna, she and another blogger, head teacher K, she came out and she discussed that topic as well. So you guys can go over to her channel and listen in depth. She did an in-depth live stream about it. But then Auntie Donna, she came out and she was basically defending her status and her belief. So I mean, she did clarify somewhat in saying that 80% of the people that that she has encountered, so it's based on her experience, and we can't knock somebody for their experience, right? If she says 80% of who she has encountered are bad mind, then she feels it 80% or 70% or whatever percentage she feels she has encountered that are bad mind. And also she did state as well that people can still be kind and also be bad mind, because excuse me, because yeah, they can still give, but sometimes people give, but they don't necessarily always give with a willing heart. And I am not going to limit it to just Jamaicans, because, well, growing up, I saw the world different, right? I thought us Jamaicans were so nice and caring for the most part. You have your one and two bad seeds, but I found for the most part, most Jamaicans were nice and caring. I had one experience of what I consider bad mind, and I'm going to tell you guys about it, and then you guys can let me know if you think that was bad mind. But I have to extend it out a little bit to our black people. And this is based on what I'm seeing, especially in social media, because, with the evolution of social media, you're seeing so much more. The world has become so much smaller that you can see so much more just because of our cell phones and the social media. So I'm just going to touch on just a couple examples that I see. All right. Well, you have one such. So you have Vibes Cartel. He came out the other day and he was saying that Jamaica has the most bad mind people that he has ever met. Again, that is based on his experience and the situation that he found himself in, where he think that sorry, it's nighttime, guys, and a little bit sleepy. But anyways, so Vibes Cartel came out and, based on his experience, he was saying that, Jamaicans are the most bad mindset of people that he has encountered. And, he gave his reasons. Again, generalizing. Now, I see Cora Obidi, this African girl that's on social media, right? She was married. She have that interracial marriage to Justin Dean, and it was a highly publicized divorce on social media where a lot of people were taking sides, right? And I find that when she was with her husband at the time, yes, she's always scantily clad, but that's how I went and saw her. So, I mean, everybody is their own individual, right? But, she was always scantily clad, dancing around, gyrating with her husband and all that jazz. Some persons, a lot of people from Africa didn't like the fact, that she dressed scantily, and how she was gyrating on social media, but, big whoop. But anyways, I think people were a lot more tolerant of her. But then once she and her husband split, because he came out and told the world that he was divorcing her, right? Once they split and she started, becoming more and more independent and doing things for herself, she started getting, all of this extra bashing from people. When she, bought a car, people were saying, oh, she's following the ex-husband and buying a car just like him. When she and him were going, to court, and I guess to try and get not alimony, what you call it? Child support. People were saying, well, her ex-husband put it out there, I guess, put one of her Facebook checks out there to say she's making X amount of money. But then you have other people who are saying, oh, she makes X amount of money, she doesn't need any money from him. Or whenever her supporters give her stars, Facebook stars and stuff, you have a lot of people in the comment section who are very upset. I'm like, if you're not giving her anything, why are you getting upset at people who are giving her, their stars? This led to them calling her scammer and all sorts of names. I think that is a form of bad mind. Because if it's not hurting you, why are you bothering with it? There is this new guy. Well, I recently heard of him, so he's new to me on TikTok. I haven't really watched a video of him. I will scroll and he will pop up in my For You page. But I've seen snippets of videos of him, but I haven't watched a full video. And they make soaps in Jamaica, but apparently he has gotten, very popular among the Jamaican TikTok. But then you have people who, they don't like it, and people start envying him for his success now on social media. You see people keep commenting and putting videos out that they're tired of him. And like, I think him and his family, however many of them, each member of the family has a variation of soap that they sell. And you still have people are, saying how much soap are they going to be selling, and how much money that they're making, and they're taking over the place, and they should leave some of whatever, some of the pie for everybody else. But I'm like, the pie is big enough for everybody. If you see somebody who comes in or came in with an idea, if it's something that you can work with, you put your spin on it as well and join the party. Don't hate on somebody because somebody else came in with an idea, and you're upset that that person came in with the idea before you, right? Again, another form of bad mind. Another example is this African social media personality, Olivia. And on Facebook, she's hairstyles and tutorials. So, Olivia, when I started watching her, she was mainly, just combing her natural hair, with the braiding, plaiting, lots of different hairstyles. And she will also do hairstyles, combing her daughter's hair. Or sometimes people will, come by and she will do their hair. So she has garnered a lot of her, I think the last time I saw, she has over maybe 8 or 9 million subscribers on Facebook. So she has a family, and they have 2 kids, and they live in England. Well, anyways, she was getting a lot of love, right? When she's doing the hair, and she's in her house with her family, and she will showcase her cooking and all that jazz. She was getting a lot of love, I see, on social media. I don't think I ever saw any bad or any negative comments on her page until she started showcasing how successful they were as a family. Right? I know I've seen her and her husband like shopping for I guess an investment property in England. They were going around, and I think they bought a house in England, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was saying, I'm not sure if the new house is the one that they're gonna be living in, or if it's the current house that they have, but I think one of them is going to be an investment property, right? So when she did that, I started seeing lots of negative comments started flowing on her live stream or on her videos. She mainly does videos. Occasionally she will come out and do a little clapback, but I started seeing negative comments once she started showing that they have a little money and stuff. Then I saw where her and her family, they went back to Africa, and I think they basically remodeled both her mom and her husband's mom's homes, and I think it's Nigeria. They put on solar panels and change out appliances, AC, the whole works. They set them up. People started getting angry. I'm like, why is it that you're not happy for her? You should be happy for your fellow sister that she came on social media. She just did her thing, and she started becoming successful, and she is putting back, into her family. She's taking care of her family, back home. And then that's when you started seeing a lot of the negative comments. Then they went back to Nigeria another time, and this time it's to buy a second home for, or at this point maybe third home for their family, so they can have a home in Africa. It was a very nice home. It's in a nice little community. It has a swimming pool, high ceilings, and honestly, when she did show the video, it was such a nice house. Oh my God, guys, the amount of negative vitriol I saw started spewing regarding them, buying that house. I'm like, geez, Louise. It's not just a Jamaican thing, it's a black people thing. Why can't we just be happy for our fellow man? You see somebody and they start doing well for themselves. Clap your fellow man on the shoulder. Don't let the green eye monster start showing. Guys, if you think that was bad enough, let me tell you, when they went back to England, guys, let me tell you, guys, the heat turned up for them because they went and made another purchase. This time, guys, the purchase was, it seems to be either 2025 or 2026. I don't know which one, but I know she took the plastic off. So maybe it's a 2026. Mercedes Benz, I think it's the E450, which is the electric Mercedes Benz. Jeez Louise, guys. Oh my word. She got so much 8. And I'm leaving off the H. She got so much number 8. Oh my word, they're saying she's showing off. And how many vehicles do they need? And she's a stay-at-home mom. Why, does she need to have that vehicle? And the people started, leaving some extra I didn't think they could get any lower, but some extra negative comments, and then they started degrading her, like, oh, she's just a stay-at-home mom, that's nothing to aspire to. And they started, and I'm like, where is all the love that you people had for this young miss when all she was doing was braiding her hair, her child's hair, other close family members' hair, and not showing anything? I think as black people, we don't want to see anyone doing seemingly better than us. We don't want to see anyone have something more than us, right? Even though they have worked hard for whatever it is that they are achieving in life, but we don't want to see it. The minute someone starts showing what they have, a lot of times, yes, sometimes, it's, being braggadocious and boastful, but there are other times when someone is just showing that with hard work, with perseverance, with persistence, you can achieve what you want to, in life. Or someone is saying, you're looking at traveling from point A to point B using, this gravel road. But hey, look, you can take this grassy pathway, which is maybe cooler or, softer on your feet, to get to the same path. So they're showing you that you can just take a different path to get to where you want to go. They're not always showing off. Sometimes what they're trying to do is to inspire you to say, okay, don't look at, the road or the way as black and white. Add a little bit of color. But we don't see it like that. We always tend to see the negative aspect of it, to think that people are showing off on us, and then that's generate a lot of ill feelings. And I'm like, what is happening? Where is all the love that people had for her when, all she was doing was just combing her hair? The minute she starts, doing all of this stuff, showing, basically, showing that, they're well off financially, people don't like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, us black people, we really are some bad-minded people. But let me tell you my story before I come off this video. Many, many, many moons ago, right? When I was living in Jamaica, and I wanted to leave Jamaica. So at the time, I was free, single, disengaged. No boyfriend, I was single, working, just doing my own thing. And I wanted to leave Jamaica. So I said that I was gonna move to the States and, do schooling in the States. I discussed it with my family, and my mom was okay, and I guess my mom told another family member, right? Remember, I'm working, I'm free, single, disengaged. No chick, no child, no boyfriend, no nothing. I, applied for school, and, I was contemplating in my mind whether I should go, yes or no, because, I would have to stay with family members, and, I'm used to my independence. So I was really weighing my mind whether I wanted to stay with, family. When you leave Jamaica and you go up, abroad to stay with people, sometimes the living condition is not always the most ideal. So I was, you know, weighing my mind heavily because I know how I am. And when I want my space, I am miserable. I just want my space. Well, anyway, this other family member has kids of her own, right? Two of her kids was living in the States. Two of her sons, they were living in the States. The last son had gone to the States to go to school, right? So I am interested in going to school in the States. Her son was going to school in the States. She had a daughter. Her daughter was married in a very good job and had two babies. When they heard me say that I wanted to go to school, you know what that family member said to my mom? That my mom should talk to me, right? Because why do I want to leave Jamaica, to leave my good job and go overseas to go to school? That is what she said. No, I would think that as an adult and you see someone, a young person, because guys, really, I was in my early 20s, right? So it's not as if I was close to 30 or I was under 25 at the time. She is telling my mom, oh, why don't you talk to her? Don't let her go away to go to school. She needs to stay. Why is she going to leave her good job? Let her stay here and work. It doesn't make any sense for her to go away to school. However, then I did change my mind, but not because of what she said, but because I got a promotion at work right after that, and then I'm like, I it's mainly the living situation why I really changed my mind from going, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to stay with family member. I would have to be sharing one room until I got situated. And honestly, guys, I've been on my own since I was a teenager, so I knew I wasn't gonna be happy, so I changed my mind. Only to find out a few months later, remember I told you she was married in a very good job. I think she was a supervisor where she used to work. And she had two kids. Only to find out months later that she applied for school after I expressed my interest. She applied for school, and her younger brother, who was going to school over there, he was able to, help because, and get some strings pulled for her to go to the college that he was going to overseas. And my family member had no problem with that. No. Do you see the disparity there? I was free, single, and disengaged, and she went to my mother to tell my mother to try and dissuade me from going overseas to further my education. Yet still, she had no problem with her married daughter who had two children. Her husband was still living in Jamaica as well. So she was living in Jamaica with her husband and two kids, and she had a supervisor job at a reputable company. But the mother had no issues with her now applying for school in the United States, where she would have been leaving her husband and kids back home, because at the time it could only be her, which she did. She did leave Jamaica, go to the States, leave Jamaica with her two kids and her husband in Jamaica. And she left and went to the States to go to school. And her mother saw no problem with that. Now tell me, guys, isn't that a case of bad mind? Because I'm thinking that her mother didn't want to see anyone else shine but her kids. Because, we grew up poor. So to me, it's almost like she's saying, oh, my mother shouldn't have any kids who would want to aspire, to be greater because, they were more wealthy. They had the good life and stuff, right? So nobody else should come out better or have anything more than their family. Now, guys, tell me, isn't that bad mind? And there are so many more examples that I could bring up, over social media. Even this young miss that Auntie Donna helped, Cassidy. Auntie Donna saw her on TikTok, and decided to assist her with some groceries. Groceries, guys, groceries. And Auntie Donna offered her the groceries. Then you have people calling Auntie Donna's phone, or whenever she's on TikTok, calling and complaining, oh, we've been asking you for help for so long and you didn't help us, but you helped her and we need the help more than her, and all of these negative stuff. I'm like, why do we have to be like that? Why can't we just wait until our turn? Not because you asked before this person and this person is getting the assistance. We're not obligated to do anything for you. Why can't you just be happy? Just be happy for someone else. Just look and say, oh, well, I guess it's not my turn. And then you have some people, who'll be calling her and say, oh, I've been messaging you for 5 years. I'm like, seriously? For 5 years, if you're going to call me and tell me that you've been messaging me for 5 years for help, I'm not going to pay you any mind because you had 5 years to rectify your situation. 1 year, 2 years max, because we don't have our heads in the sand. We know what life is like, globally. And I'm not going to single out Jamaica to say we know what Jamaica is like. We know what life is like globally, because somebody can lose their job today and they're still 18 months later, they're still trying to find a good paying job. Sometimes you may have to take a job where you're underqualified for, or you're overqualified for, sorry. So, that means you're underpaid for your skill set, right? But we know how the market is, right? So even the little food that she received, people basically badmind her for the little food. It's just food, All she's gonna do, her and her kids, they're gonna eat, and then it's gonna pass out through their bodies after going through their digestive system. And people badmind her for that. Guys, as Black people, we really need to do better. We need to look into ourselves and know that even when we're down, even when we're low, even when we're in need, we can cheer on for another person who is getting some blessings. We need to look into ourselves and do better. Jeez.